Welcome, ladies, and bless your heart for being here. Have you ever heard that phrase, bless your heart? Well, it's apropos for today's greeting because we're beginning a whole unit on your heart. In my book, it's all of chapter 28. And look, the second edition of my book is available too. Regardless of which one you have, it's all of chapter 28. And in these videos, I'll address only a small portion of that chapter in each video, because you know how I am, very stepwise. You're going to understand every bit of it in great detail if you watch these videos on heart attack in order and then refer to the book. I've already taught you that heart attack is the absolute most important thing about menopause. And you're going to really see that as we delve into this topic. I have over 24 videos for you on the various aspects of heart attacks at menopause. There isn't a single thing that I'll be overlooking. You will get a vast and thorough education on this, and it may very well save your life. This first video in the heart attack series is about the paucity of attention we pay to heart attacks. It's just the beginning of what you need to raise your awareness of the importance of heart attacks. So every woman, and every man for that matter, should watch this video and all the others that follow for months to come. I promise you will learn everything you need to know about your heart at menopause. So let's start with a fun quiz question. Don't you love my quiz questions? Well, even if you don't typically like them, you might find this one interesting. Here it is. There is only one disease for which you can buy a postage stamp at the post office with the proceeds going to research for a cure. That disease is A, melanoma, B, lung cancer, C, heart disease, D, breast cancer, E, leukemia, F, Alzheimer's disease. Not my standard type of question, is it? Did you even know there was a disease for which you could buy a postage stamp? Well, there is. And that disease is breast cancer. Now, maybe you're wondering why I started this video in the heart attack unit with a question about breast cancer. Well, it's because the very first thing I want to do in this unit on heart attack is explain why you don't consider it your biggest risk. You know how I simplify things for you? Well, the simple way to think of heart attack versus breast cancer is this. It's the difference between what's inside your chest versus what's outside your chest. What's more important, your heart or your breasts? Which of the two is more critical for life? Which of the two, if absent, means certain death? That sort of puts the difference between them into perspective. But despite the fact that your heart is so much more important than your breasts, it turns out that breasts get a lot more attention. So it's great that breast cancer has a special postage stamp, but here's the dichotomy. According to the World Health Organization, 7 times more women die of heart attack than breast cancer. Almost 50% of female deaths are due to heart attack. So there is an imbalance in the scope of heart attacks and the attention society pays to them, especially women. Heart attacks have no geographic or socioeconomic boundaries, and 9 out of 10 women exhibit at least one risk factor for a heart attack. Part of the asymmetry is due to the predominance of fundraising for breast cancer. There are non-stop corporate-sponsored fundraisers for breast cancer, runs for breast cancer, walks for breast cancer, even baseball games for breast cancer. Even though baseball, it's a game played and watched primarily by men, it has a breast cancer day. So the fundraising doesn't target just women. Breast cancer research receives more money than any other disease, despite the fact that it causes only about 7% of cancer-related deaths. As a result of the fundraising focus on breast cancer, women have the misconception that breast cancer is their greatest risk at menopause. But did you know that there are actually campaigns focused on women for heart attack too? Have you ever heard of the Red Dress campaign? It's all about heart attacks. It's been around for over 15 years and it's doubled the awareness of heart attacks in women. But how frequently do you see red dresses? Did you even know that red dresses signify heart attacks in women? What about the Pink Ribbon campaign? You're probably more familiar with it than you are with the Red Dress campaign. The Pink Ribbon breast cancer awareness symbol receives tremendous public and corporate support. How often do you see pink ribbons? You probably see them everywhere. On cars, on clothing, on products you buy at the grocery store. They're everywhere. So the preponderance of pink ribbons and the paucity of red dresses has you believing that breast cancer is your biggest risk. It isn't. Fundraising campaigns aren't the only problematic area. Hospital funds are inequitable too. For every dollar that hospitals spend on heart attacks, they spend $12 on breast cancer. It's not at all uncommon for the breast cancer facility at a hospital to be much larger than the heart attack facility. Even though heart attacks are much more common and much more deadly, breast cancer gets much more space and attention. And even the medical profession itself has failed to emphasize the need for public funding for research on prevention and treatment of heart attacks. The mere fact that there are lipid-lowering drugs has caused both the scientific community and the public to ignore heart attacks. There's no pill to prevent breast cancer, but there are a bunch of lifestyle factors that can prevent it. The media plays a part too. There are 5 times more media pieces on breast cancer than on heart attack. News reports about breast cancer outnumber stories about heart attacks at a rate of 2.6 to 1. This attention forms public opinion, and public opinion influences your emotional responses and reactions to these 2 diseases. Try this. Survey all the women you know about heart attack versus breast cancer. Ask them which disease carries the most fear for them. Ask them which is more common. I guarantee they'll answer breast cancer for both. That is, unless they're a student of my Menopause University. In a formal survey, though, women thought that they were much more susceptible to breast cancer than to heart attack. They thought that breast cancer was the biggest killer of postmenopausal women. And they mistakenly thought that their family history was the biggest indicator of their heart attack risk. They also failed to realize that they have more control over preventing a heart attack than they do over preventing breast cancer. So with fundraising campaigns, hospitals, doctors, and the media focusing so heavily on breast cancer and so lightly on heart attack, most women have no idea that heart attack is the most likely thing to affect them and kill them. I give seminars, webinars, and talks on menopause all the time. And I find that women are completely unaware of the distinction between heart attack and breast cancer. They're always shocked about how significant the risk for heart attack really is. And they're usually relieved about how much less significant the risk for breast cancer is. So if you've been brainwashed into believing that breast cancer is your greatest worry, I hope you find some relief in learning that it isn't. Here are some statistics on heart attack from the American Heart Association. Now, granted, they apply only to the United States, but they're still very telling. Cardiovascular disease, including heart attack, high blood pressure, and stroke, kills nearly 500,000 women in the United States each year. That figure exceeds the next 7 causes of death combined. More women die from heart attack than from all cancers, respiratory conditions, Alzheimer's disease, and accidents combined. Women are 15% more likely than men to die of a heart attack and twice as likely to have a second heart attack in the 6 years following the first. And when it comes to deaths at menopause, the numbers are as follows. 1 out of 2 postmenopausal women die from a heart attack. 1 out of 29 postmenopausal women die from breast cancer. So all the attention on breast cancer has led to great screening programs for breast cancer. Both breast self-exams and mammograms are very effective at screening for early breast cancer. But what about heart attacks? How many women do you know who get a screening test that warns them about an impending heart attack before they have one? You see, all these things are linked. If we don't raise awareness of heart attacks, there won't be campaigns to raise funds for heart attacks in women. If there are no funds for heart attacks in women, there's no research on heart attacks in women. If there's no research on heart attacks in women, we're left with the research on men rather than on women. And if there's no research on women, we don't find good screening tests for women. Don't you see how they're all connected? All these distortions have unfortunate consequences. Included among them is the fact that within 10 years of becoming postmenopausal, your risk of having a heart attack is equal to that of a man 10 years older. And compared to a man, you're much more likely to die or become completely disabled as a result of a heart attack. These are the things that make the fundraising, media attention, fear, hype, and worry about breast cancer versus heart attack so distorted. And over the course of these videos on heart attack, you'll learn everything you need to know to correct the distortion. Not only that, you'll also learn what causes heart attacks in women, how to recognize a heart attack in a woman, how to determine your own risk for a heart attack, and all the things you can do to prevent a heart attack or lower your risk for a heart attack. Consider this the Menopause Taylor campaign against heart attacks in women. So now you know why I chose to begin this unit with a video on the imbalance between the focus on heart attack versus the focus on breast cancer. The bottom line is that what's inside your chest is much more important than what's outside your chest. And I hope I've gotten your attention. So this is where we'll end today. Next week, I'll address what causes heart attacks at menopause. As you learn about these things, feel free to schedule a one-on-one consultation if you want me to help you personally. I love the one-on-ones, and the women who do them love them too. They're delighted with how much they gain. So if you want one, schedule it by going to menopausetaylor.me. Until next week, you can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. So I will see you next week. Bye.